Welcome back to the YellowCard Vanguard channel. I'm your host, Toku from It's Toku TV on Twitch. Every Monday, I'm streaming Vanguard content, and the past few Mondays, we've been brewing up clan collection lists and testing them, so swing on by to be part of the process. It's been a week since I've started this series, and for our lucky 7th day, we're embracing Ramiel's glorious twin tail. At the current time in V, one of the biggest gripes players have is with Angel Feathers, but more specifically, Ramiel. Rest assured, Angel Feather mains, for if Ramiel ever does get hit, Ramiel provides an alternative playstyle to the deck that doesn't really rely on ripping 6 criticals off the top before drive checks. Now I say that, but I'm also a filthy Ramiel abuser. In any case, let's see what Ramiel and friends brought us in Clan Collect. Starting us off is Prophecy Celestial Ramiel. Blessed be her blonde twin tails. Her Vanguard skill lets her Soul Blast 1 on attack to countercharge 1, and then she stands all rearguards with matching names with anything in damage. Afterwards, for every 2 units that were stood from this effect, you draw a card, and all your rearguards gain 5k for the turn. Meaning, if you manage to set up a full board restand, you will draw 2 cards, and she grants your rearguards 10k. Note that this is all rearguards and not just the ones stood. Her second skill is a callback to Limit Break 4 and activates whether she is on V or rear. At the beginning of your ride phase, if you have 4 or more damage, you can damage charge 1 from your deck and tutor from damage to hand. Furthermore, if this ability was used on rear, you soul charge her in. All in all, Ramiel, outside of draw checks, has the ability to +3 to your hand every turn while on Limit Break 4. Making this deck fairly bulky while also being an aggressive 5-attack deck. Next up is Candle Celestial Sariel. For 1 Counterblast and 1 Soul Blast, when she is placed on V or R, you can tutor your deck for any normal unit and damage it. Afterwards, if you resolve this effect, you will heal 1. This is a good way to set up Ramiel, as you can place a copy of herself in damage zone to guarantee at least 1 restand. Her second effect gives her the ability to boost if our damage zone has 1 or less face down card. Now, we're playing Angel Feathers, and we never started for countercharge, so this effect should almost always be live. Now, we have the Grade 1, Spine Celestial Yophiel. Her effect, when rolled upon, lets you swap a card from damage with a unit's card from hand. Her second effect, which is called from hand to rear, lets you Counterblast 1, bind yourself, and damage charge yourself 1 from the deck, effectively increasing your damage pool by 1 for the turn. At the end of turn, however, you will return her to the drop zone from bind and tutor a card from damage zone to hand. All in all, this effect really comes down to just a filter and a way to increase the number of names in your damage zone by 1. As for her first effect, I guess the idea was you would ride Sariel over her to effectively tutor Ramiel from your deck into the damage zone, and then use Yophiel's skill to swap Ramiel into your hand to guarantee a ride for next turn. But there's no effect between the two that is effectively a raw plus, and with how fast the V format is right now, I'm not sure if this holds up to the pace. I'm not sold on this card for the deck, but if anyone finds a way to incorporate, I'm all ears. Finally, we have the new Grade 3 heal trigger, Cascio. Ramiel actually seems like a deck that's not reliant on Counterblast to go first, so Cascio will only really see defensive options for us. In which case, I don't know if we even run it, because I don't think we mind going to 4 damage early on to turn on Limit Break and grind out our opponent with our +1 every turn. However, this is definitely something worth testing. Anyways, let's get deck building. For Ramiel was not easy. We needed a balance of cards that would set up our damage zone for board restand, but at the same time, because of how heavy these cards costed soul, we also wanted to find cards that would refill our soul to keep up our aggression. The only cards I was sure about including at 4 were Ramiel, as she is our current boss unit, Black Aculus Jafkel as an ideal ride but also a cheap plus, and a way to tutor from damage, Black called Nakir as a constant 13k attacker / booster, but also a method to find extra copies of Ramiel for rewrite purposes or no kills as a 1-card attacker setup. Our trigger lineup is the standard 8 crit 4 draw Sentinel. Because we're playing a bit risky when we allow ourselves to get to Limit Break 4, the draw Sentinels are a lot more safe than critical set. We're also playing vanilla heals instead of the Grade 3 heal Guardians, because as stated before, 1 open Counterblast does not do anything for Ramiel boards, and I think we don't mind going to Limit Break 4 early in the game either. With those out of the way and the obvious starter, we are left with 21 slots to play with. 21 slots to ensure consistency on making Ramiel boards, but at the same time, cards to fuel the soul needed to enable said board states. The obvious inclusion was Nokiels. Holy Seraph and LMG Nokiel are both cards that tutor your deck for a Nokiel name and damage it, effectively each of these being a 1-card double attacker in conjunction with Ramiel. I won't confidentially say what ratios to run these at, but for starters, I've chosen to run LMG at 4 as she also provides a +2 hand, and Holy Seraph at only 3. Candle Celestial Sariel is also a pseudo Nokiel. For the same cost, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, you could search your deck for any copy of a rearguard on your board and damage zone it to enable its restand with Ramiel. Her second effect allows her to be placed anywhere on the board and become a viable unit as well. We chose to run her at 3 for the time being. Scaling Angel is a really good card which provides both facets of Ramiel that we're looking for. On rear placement, not only does she refund soul from the damage zone, she also sets up the damage zone with any normal unit that we're missing to match our board. As she is double-faceted, we chose to run her at 4. Bellyfold Med's Angel is another unit which fulfills both requirements we're looking for, setting herself to soul to swap a unit in hand with a card in damage. She refills the soul and also sets up Ramiel board. However, as she herself is not a viable attacker due to her cost of disappearing from the board, and also being a hard once per turn ability, we are only running 3 for the time being. Finally, I rounded out the list with 4 Healthful Intendants as an ideal ride target. This is the card I am most suspect of in this current list, as her first skill can let you recall herself out for a free +2 board. However, this is effectively a Soul Blast 1, which is already scarce enough in this deck. Also, however, on the rear, she's also a viable attacker if they've ever taken damage this turn. She can hit 13k by herself. Irregardless, if I find myself lacking in one of the aspects, being Ramiel setup or soul requirements, she's the first to go. Now, if I was to replace Healthful Intendants, what would I run? Obviously, I could just up the counts of Sariel and Nokiel and Bellyfold to 4 for consistency's sake, and with more copies of a name in deck, there's a higher chance of finding an extra copy of any name to fulfill Ramiel's skill. I've seen considerations of Syringe Lesser as a card to just throw into the soul, but its skill to give 2 units 5k until end of turn gets doubly used so when those units get restood by Ramiel. Likewise, if you're finding board strength is not a strong suit of the deck, consider running cards like Black Leash Abiel and Million Ray Pegasus to provide a bit more oomph to those restands. In any case, Ramiel seems like an incredibly fun deck to problem solve and optimize ratios for. She provides a new playstyle to V Angel Feathers and uses Angel Feathers' generic card pool very well. I personally don't think this will be any better than the Gabriel Ramiel OTK, however, I do think it will be a lot more fun to play, as you mentally navigate around what cards you need to play and in which order to get the damage zone to match your board. However, that's all I've got for today's segment of Clan Collection Course, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Poke out.